Well, hello there. I'm Cosmic Cannibal, and this is Cosmic Chronicles, your weekly report of all things astrology, from zodiac signs and planets to transits and horoscopes. And in this episode, I've got transits, I've got some horoscopes, but most importantly, I've got your cosmic weather forecast for 2023 Leo season. Yes! But we're going to be talking about all the planetary transits that you can expect to see and experience and navigate during this particular solar transit through Leo. But we're also going to be talking about the much hyped about and potentially, fear-mongered transit, Venus Retrograde in Leo. But first, let's talk a bit about Leo season, right? Starting July 22nd, that's this Saturday, the sun enters Leo. And when the sun is in Leo, it's time to just bask in the radiant glow of the fire sign. If you know a Leo, if you are a Leo, you know what I'm talking about. This is the time to... Leo season's the metaphorical, I'm sitting by the pool and the sun is just radiating down on me and God, don't I look great. That's Leo season. The spotlight shines brightly and the energy is dynamic, it's electric, it's creative, it's adventurous, it's exhibitionary. I just made that word up. It's also passionate. It's also prolific. There's so many adjectives we could use to describe Leo and Leo season. It's because this sizzling season is all about being and embracing your inner star and celebrating your unique essence. Now, there are some key highlights, some key themes, and maybe some key challenges to look out for before I dive into all these planetary transits of this season. The highlights, self-expression, right? Leo season encourages all of us to express ourselves authentically and confidently. It's also encouraging us to embrace our creativity and showcase our talents and let our light shine. Leo season is the time to risk being seen in all of your glory and be proud of who you are. There's also passion and playfulness. It's time to infuse life with passion and joy and engage in activities that bring out your inner child, ignite your enthusiasm, and, again, spark your creativity. Another highlight, confidence, leadership. Leo is nothing if not confident and leaderly, another word I made up. I'm really going to make up a lot of words today, just FYI. So, during Leo season, it's time to tap into your inner lion, lioness, and step into your freaking power. Because when the sun is in Leo, you are empowered to lead with confidence, to take charge of your life, and make a positive impact that inspires others. Themes of Leo season: self-love, self-care. Duh. Leo is a very self-absorbed sign. Any Leo will fiercely refute that fact because usually self-absorbed people don't know they're self-absorbed. And that's what makes Leo so lovable. How can you not love someone who loves themselves so much, right? That's why we all love Jennifer Lopez. But this season wants us to love ourselves and care for ourselves, pamper ourselves, cultivate a strong sense of self-worth, be fiercely and unapologetically you. Another theme is romance, relationships. Leo can't do anything without being in love, it's because it's such a magnetic sign. The sign has just this magnetic energy that brings romance to the forefront. And this is a time when you have to, have passionate connections and express love in a bold and dramatic way. So another theme is authenticity and individuality. This is a season that celebrates our unique qualities as individuals, encouraging us to be true to ourselves while embracing individuality. Now, of course, as I mentioned, there are some challenges of Leo season. That's going to be ego and drama, okay? it's a strong energy, this Leo energy, and it can sometimes lead to a heightened ego or a tendency for dramatic flair. If you have planets in Leo, even if you're not a Leo sun, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Because we do it. It's stomping away, it's occasionally throwing things, it's, just being dramatic because it's how we get attention, okay? If you got a problem with it, have a problem with it. I ain't gonna change. Just watch out for potential conflicts. Those could arise from ego clashes. Another challenge is attention seeking. That kind of goes hand in hand with the ego and drama. Yes, we want to shine bright. Yes, we want to be recognized. We want to be admired during Leo season, but sometimes we could also turn into that person who is just always talking about themselves and their talents and their creativity and what they love and they're so good at everything and why aren't we talking about me again? And oh, did I tell you I got bangs? Because I didn't get bangs. That was just a character that was coming out. I got bangs in the past, deeply regretted it. So it's natural to desire recognition and attention, but it's also bad habit of Leo season for us to seek validation from external resources. So, don't always commandeer the conversation when you're out with your besties. Balance the spotlight, yeah? Find balance between shining brightly and allowing others to have their moments in the spotlight, okay? Okay, so now we know about the highlights, the themes, the challenges of Leo season, and it's time to get to the really, really, really good stuff, the transits. So, without further ado, your cosmic weather forecast for 2023 Leo season. Wow! The crowd goes wild. Okay, so we know that the sun, the brightest star in our galaxy, enters the brightest sign in the zodiac on July 22nd. But what you may or may not know is that Venus, the planet of love and money and desires and relationships and creativity, stations retrograde in Leo that same day. It happens a couple hours later, but that's a lot to take in on one day. We have the celebratory moment of, Leo season. It's finally the fun part of summer, because if you've been like me, you've been suffering during Cancer season, feeling like an emotional wreck. And then it's guess what? The universe says, I got another trick up my sleeve. I'm gonna station the love planet retrograde. Just to fuck yeah. Just kidding. Now, this is a bit unfortunate for all the Leos out there who are yeah, it's my B-Day season, because it's kind of coloring your B-Day season with these Venus retrograde vibes, right? Now, what does it really mean? What does this Venus retrograde in Leo transit mean? It's kind of a doozy, but so Venus retrograde in Leo is like a fabulous celebrity hitting the rewind button on their career, revisiting past triumphs and fashion faux pas. It's kind of going to be like the last season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where you have the quote-unquote present storyline, the storyline that's set in the present time, which was actually the past. But you are also looking forward to Maisel's career and all that she's achieved. So in a way, you're actually looking back. And you're looking back on your relationships to yourself, your relationships to your friends, your relationships to your parents, your lovers, all relationships, while also wistfully yet fiercely re-examining your worth and your creativity. And maybe, just maybe, you go through your closet and look at your belongings, wondering how and why you spent so much damn money on all those hats when you've ever only worn, I don't know, 3 of them. It's that sort of transit. That's what this Venus in Leo retrograde transit is going to be. Because Venus, as I mentioned, is the planet of love and beauty And when it's strutting her stuff in the charismatic sign of Leo, but in a retrograde fashion, so she's, giving us the optical illusion that she's moonwalking through the fire sign, she's bringing back the glitz and glam of yesteryears. And that means a lot of reflecting on past relationships. You might get more contact or another, a reigniting of an old flame. Someone you once knew might try to come back into your love life and be like, hey, whatever, or what's going on? And you're like, no, thanks. Perhaps you even dust off those sequined outfits buried deep in your closet. That's another possibility. The point is, self-love and self-expression take center stage, but it's in a way that is more contemplative and less of the exhibitionist tendency that Leo has. It's going to be about figuring out why you've kind of come to this point that you're at in your relationships, in your finances, in your aesthetics. You might be like me and you might think deeply about getting a haircut. I'm a Leo rising, so my hair is my identity. That might mean that you get bangs again. I would highly advise against getting bangs, getting any haircut from now until September 3rd, because it's going to be bad. That's been my experience. When I've been like, you know what, astrology doesn't have to rule every decision of my life, and I decide to get a haircut or do some sort of beauty treatment during a Venus retrograde transit, I very much regret it. And I mean more than the normal times I regret it, because I'm a Gemini, so I pretty much regret every single decision I make going, oh, the other one would have been the better option. So to say that I deeply regret a decision, that's a big warning for you. Now, because this is the Leo season episode of this podcast and not Venus retrograde, I'm really not going to dive too terribly deep into this transit, and will instead instruct you to keep your eyes peeled this Friday for my Venus in Leo survival guide article, which I'll have on Substack. Get it? Got it? Good. Moving on. July 28th. So we go from Sun in Leo, Venus retrograde. We get to enjoy those fun transits for 6 days. Then Mercury, the planet of communication, enters Virgo, the planet of, nerdy nitpicking. This is a really good transit if you're a writer. Venus retrograde in Leo is going to have you thinking about and reflecting on creative projects and maybe even just your creativity in general. And so when you pair that with the sort of scrutinizing, detail-minded, very practical energy of Mercury in Virgo, I think that allows for a good sort of, it's not Mercury retrograde, which would be more of like, hey, let's review these things that I've written, but it's going to be a good transit to write and to hone in on the details that might be getting in the way of creative projects. Like Venus retrograde is going to give that energy, but Mercury in Virgo, it's giving you a sense of meticulousness and analytical thinking, organizational skills, and attention to detail. So it's like a superhero armed with a color-coded to-do list and an encyclopedic knowledge of inner perfectionism. And it's how can I go about my writing projects in a more proficient, productive, efficient way, and how can I craft better stories? How can I craft better whatever you write, content, period, right? It's just really good for writing, even though Venus is retrograde. Now, come August 1st, we have a full moon in Aquarius. And this one is an interesting day because not only are the sun and moon in direct opposition in one of the, prominent degrees, the 9th degree, but Mercury in Virgo is opposite Saturn in Pisces. Mars in Virgo is trine Jupiter in Taurus, and Pluto is once again squaring the North Node. Now, Mercury opposite Saturn, which is technically exact on August 2nd, if you're going to get all Mars and Virgo about it, brings the clash of the quick-thinking messenger and the wise old teacher. It's like a verbal sparring match where Saturn plays the stern professor and Mercury tries to outsmart it with its clever quips, but it might just be a little bit frustrating for you in your writing practice or your writing endeavors. It's another one of those like brain fart moments. I would liken it to a sort of Mercury retrograde feel where it's like, huh? Why isn't this working? And instead of getting overly frustrated like I do when I try to do calculus, I would advise or suggest that you allow this transit to not wear you out and to not make you, kind of sick of your writing projects or any project. Maybe you're not a writer, but this is kind of like for writers, this whole forecast. And instead, try to remain open to the obstacle that this transit could present in terms of your communications, in terms of your thinking and your to-doing. That's very Mercury and Mars in Virgo. Disciplined thinking. It might feel a little bit like a brain freeze for that one. Now, the trine between Mars and Jupiter is also good. It's easeful. It's not going to present too much or any challenge. Now, the Pluto North Node square, that is a square. That technically occurs 2 minutes after the full moon if you're going to be all Mercury and Virgo about it. But that brings intense transformation and karmic reckonings. Might feel a little uncomfortable that day. I feel like that full moon is going to be charged with a lot of different vibes to it. And it's going to feel like, oh, I can do anything, but I don't know how to do any of it. But I feel limitless, but I'm also frustrated. And it's important to look at where all of these planets and transits are occurring in your chart to get a better picture of that. Now, after the full moon, there are two small but mighty planetary transits that are important to note. Now, first picture this. Retrograde Venus struts into the scene all dolled up in a glamorous red carpet gown. But here comes Jupiter in Taurus, a larger-than-life figure indulging in a lavish feast. Like he is just gnawing on turkey breasts. Sure. That's what's happening August 9th. Venus retrograde is squaring Jupiter in Taurus. That's where the square comes in. It's kind of a clash between high-maintenance diva and a laid-back gourmet chef, which sounds like a Hallmark movie if you ask me. Sparks could fly as their desires and values collide, creating a cosmic tug-of-war. I mean, I'm writing this movie as we speak. Someone just needs to actually write it. Will love or abundance prevail? I think this transit presents an opportunity for abundance, but it's going to be kind of challenging because Venus is retrograde still. Now, just a couple days after that, on August 13th, we have a Venus cazimi. That's when Venus retrograde aligns with the Sun in Leo, and that is a good day for this Venus retrograde transit. We really are going to have to take this Venus retrograde 1 week at a time, and this day is going to feel, I think, a little bit more buoyant in regards to whatever issues the Venus retrograde is bringing up for you. Now, on August 15th, we have another square. This time, the Sun is squaring Jupiter, and it's kind of like a clash between an over-the-top drama queen and a no-nonsense business mogul. I'm loving these metaphors. I didn't have any sort of Miss Cleo reference in this podcast. I'm kind of sad about it. But anyway, will the Sun's desire for extravagance overshadow Jupiter's grounded approach? Tune in next week. No, tune in on August 15th to see. It's a cinematic showdown. Ego colliding with charisma, meeting practicality, and it's really not going to be that dramatic. Again, anytime you have a Jupiter square, it's not that heavy, it's not that intense, because Jupiter doesn't have that vibe to it. Squares, they can create tension. Fixed signs like Leo and Taurus, they can be stubborn and they can be like, no, I want it my way. But it's really not going to be a big deal. Now, last but certainly not least, the Leo new moon on August 16th is another wild sort of lunation because Uranus and Taurus is, once again, squaring the new moon. Now, a Uranus square is a little bit different, something to be a little more mindful of than a Jupiter square. And that's because Uranus is the cosmic rebel. It likes to cause a little bit of distortion, it likes to disrupt, it likes to overthrow. And when you have, it's like, okay, imagine a dance floor, right? Uranus is bringing electric vibes to that dance floor, right? While the Leo new moon struts in with this confidence and flair, like, psh, guess what? Nobody is better than me. And they see each other, and Uranus is like, say what? Guess what? I'm going to challenge that just for the sake of you saying that you think no one's better than you. It's a clash, and it's a clash between the unconventional and the regal, like a rebellious streak running through a red carpet event, right? It's going to be a little bit restless, maybe some nervous energy, just that feeling of like frustration too. But that's not a negative thing. It could also give you a lot of internal dynamism to be like, you know what, I'm going to revolutionize my life with this new moon, and I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to take a different path, and this is the moment that I'm making that decision. So it doesn't have to be like so frustrating. You can use that frustration to shift your life into a different place if you choose so. Now, you know, there might be a little bit of roaring involved because Leo doesn't like to be pushed into anything it doesn't want, but I could see this happening more on the collective level. Like maybe we'll see an end in sight to the Hollywood strike or something about the war in Ukraine, or again, we have to keep in mind that Venus is still retrograde on that new moon, so something from the past could be moving towards a solution. I don't know. There you have it, your cosmic weather forecast for 2023 Leo season. This was a long one because there's so many transits going on during Leo season, and I felt like talking a lot today. So I appreciate you listening to this podcast. If you aren't already a subscriber, subscribe. That was a simple one. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube at Cosmic Cannibal Camille. And yeah, keep your ears and eyes peeled for a really fun announcement I'm making in regards to my moon sign workshop. I'll be launching that soon. Until then, enjoy these summer vibes. Enjoy Leo season, even though Venus is retrograde. I mean, planets go retrograde. It's like, doesn't have to be a big deal. It is what it is. We can't change it, right? So just bask in the spotlight, share the spotlight with others, and have fun. It's summer, right? Thanks for listening.